The Interfaith Alliance of Colorado is an organization that values stepping out boldly for rights, equality, and opportunity for all people. In other words, we work for the collective liberation of all our state's residents. We believe in the sense of connectedness that Martin Luther King spoke about when he wrote, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." With this in mind, we work across religious traditions to fight for causes of justice and equity for all people. As a Christian, I realize the most important factor for interfaith work is our religious diversity. My story, my narrative, my heritage is no less and no more important than that of my Jewish siblings, my Muslim siblings, my Sikh, my Buddhist, my atheist siblings. We're in this together, and we're stronger together than we are apart. When we come together side by side to protect the rights of marginalized people, to demand justice for our Black and brown neighbors, to provide shelter and build housing for the most vulnerable among us, when we do these things, we are not only freeing them, but freeing ourselves in the process. We are doing the work of faith. Too often, religion has been weaponized to fight against the rights of groups and individuals. Faith and belief have been eschewed to protect the rights of the many over the rights of the few, instead of the other way around. The Interfaith Alliance of Colorado counters the narrative of some of the loudest religious voices out there today. We work to give a voice to the voiceless, to give power to the powerless. We work to catalyze social change in a way that centers marginalized people and brings about the common good. We're so happy that you're a part of this work with us. We're fortunate to be surrounded by a community dedicated to the shared values of justice, religious liberty, and interfaith understanding. Thank you and welcome to the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado.
Good morning and welcome to the 4th annual Force for Good Awards. I wish so much that we could be together in person, but we decided this year that the safest route was to put together this virtual experience so that we could celebrate together. These are wild times that we're living in, but thank goodness for technology that allows us to continue to celebrate the forces for good in our community. What exactly is a force for good? Admittedly, it's a little difficult to put a definition on it, but what we mean when we say force for good is that we're identifying people in our community who are working to make it a more equitable and just place to live. A force for good can be an organization or an elected official or a congregation, or it can be you and me. We define the term broadly in order to widen our circle to all who are working for collective liberation for all. This morning, we will recognize one community organization, one elected official, and one congregation who embodies this ideal. We'll recognize their efforts to make positive change, and we will recognize the ways that they inspire us. There is much to celebrate this year. Even in the midst of a pandemic, we hope that this can be a time of hope and joy and inspiration. This is the 4th year that we've held the Force for Good Awards, and a lot has happened in our country and in our organization. Our staff has grown from 4 to 10 people, with organizers across the state gathering people for education and advocacy. Our budget has grown, and so has the impact that we are able to make with your support. During the last legislative session, we worked on no fewer than 50 pieces of legislation. Whether it was advocating for the repeal of the death penalty, or standing up for women's reproductive rights, or advocating to assure LGBTQ equality, or fighting to assure that unfair practices by landlords are not allowed. We were there. We were there leading the way, bridging divides, and finding common grounds with those we disagree with. We were there to lead the faith community in response to the pandemic. We were there to find a way through the politics and the bureaucracy in order to provide safe outdoor spaces for our unhoused neighbors. We were there to help facilitate conversations around police reform during the summer's renewed focus on the ways in which Black and brown bodies are treated differently in our criminal justice system. We were there and we will be there. We will remain there working in these spaces for just and equitable Colorado for all people. We're glad that you have joined us on this journey, and that you're here to celebrate some of the forces for good who are working in our community today. Before we get into our awards, I'd like to introduce you to 4 people from our team. Tamara, Sam, Mel, and Kathleen are going to share with you a bit more about their work with the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. Take it away, team.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Tamara Boynton, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement at the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. I am so proud of the critical work Interfaith does to bring people together, to mobilize for change, and to encourage us all to participate in faith-rooted justice work in our state. I'd like to introduce you to 2 of the newest members of the Interfaith team, Kathleen Van Voorhis, our Congregational Land Campaign Manager, and Sam Carwin, our Reproductive Health, Rights, and Justice Educator and Advocate, as well as Melanie Kessner, our Policy Director. Together, we're going to talk about some of the exciting work that's been happening in recent months at the Interfaith Alliance.
This year's legislative session began as most do, with energy and commitment to accomplish goals on behalf of Coloradans. Our team at the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado was primed to take on some tough policy changes. All was moving along as planned until the session was abruptly paused due to COVID-19. After about 2 months of lockdown, the legislature picked up again for a 3-week high-speed session designed to focus on pandemic-related concerns in the state. Despite the obstacles presented by a raging virus and a drastically reduced state budget, our team and members worked closely with partner organizations and legislative champions to pass many high-impact and historic bills in the 2020 legislative session. These bills included new standards for law enforcement accountability, repealing the state's death penalty, requiring employers to provide paid sick leave, and passing new standards for the Holocaust and genocide education for high schoolers. Although the session turned out differently than anyone could have expected, our efforts to advance bills in alignment with a faith-based and progressive lens were largely successful. I invite you to learn more about our team's many accomplishments in our 2020 legislative report on our website, and stay tuned for how you can join us in building on the progress in the coming session in January.
Since the end of March, the Interfaith Alliance has been working side by side with the Colorado Village Collaborative, Radian, and a whole host of homeless service providers and elected officials to erect safe outdoor spaces for our unhoused neighbors. Safe Outdoor Space, or SOS, is a harm reduction, service-rich, trauma-informed approach for helping our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. Each safe space will have 24/7 staffing, on-site services, case management, and other amenities such as showers and laundry. We will provide new tents, sleeping bags, and cots to each resident within the SOS community. Thanks to the generosity of many donors, the first 6 months of Site 1 is fully funded, allowing us to provide safety and security for many struggling with homelessness during this pandemic. It's been a wild ride of navigating bureaucracy, politics, and COVID to make this happen, but we are dedicated to service and to keeping our neighbors safe. We know this is not a solution to homelessness, but we're confident that it is a step in the right direction.
I've been able to join the team and start work right away, advocating for reproductive rights. It's important work to educate individuals within faith communities about the complexities of reproductive health care. I've been fortunate to partner with 5 organizers working around the state to share information to protect a woman's decision-making regarding her body. This includes advocating for people to vote no on Proposition 115 on this November's ballot. That proposition would ban abortions after 22 weeks with no exceptions for circumstances of rape or incest, nor for the pregnant person's health or the health of the baby. Abortion access is just a part of reproductive justice. We'll continue to support the rights to parent or not, while also recognizing children being parented in safe and sustainable communities is an essential part of the reproductive health and justice endeavor. Doing this work long-term will make our state a more just and equitable place to live for all people.
With that goal in mind of creating a more just and equitable Colorado, we have also been working with a large coalition to bring about police reform. This is a place where Interfaith Alliance really shines. Coalition work to leverage power and ensure that impacted voices are at the table. The Reimagining Policing Task Force is a completely community-led effort to identify the best ideas and practices from Denver and around the nation to develop a comprehensive, community-based approach to policing and public safety. In deep collaboration with the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance, the Citizens Oversight Board, the Conflict Center, the Center for Trauma and Resiliency, Together Colorado, and Project Voice, the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado co-hosted 2 community town halls, collected over 400 public responses, seated a 60-person task force drawn entirely from community input, and launched its work. The ultimate charge of the task force is to create policies and budget proposals for the city that invest in the community in order to increase public safety and community well-being.
As you can see, we've been very busy throughout the spring and summer. We don't know what the future holds exactly, but we are sure that the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado will continue to pursue justice at every turn, as well as equity for all of our neighbors. We're thankful you've joined us today to celebrate those in our community who are going above and beyond to make their communities better places to live for everyone. Congratulations to our awardees and to everyone who is a force for good.
Thanks, team. We are so proud of all of the work that's been happening since the beginning of the pandemic. Our team has not slowed down a bit. In fact, our work has probably increased. And I know that that is true for a lot of nonprofits in our community, especially our first awardee. I'm going to kick it over to Iman Judah to introduce them.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you this morning with the Islamic greeting, may peace and blessings be upon us all. My name is Iman Judah and I am the Community Advocate and Liaison at the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. At the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado, we're always keeping an eye out for organizations whose mission and vision are set on serving our state's most vulnerable residents. We are keen to listen to the voices above those without the lived experience of marginalized individuals and groups. We listen to on-the-ground providers and practitioners and those whose lives are a testament to heartbreak and hope. We seek these groups out because their work and the stories from their work have the power to create systemic change. Our next awardee is one of these organizations, an organization that is able to do the work of serving those in need and working for systemic change. The Second Chance Center is determined to reduce recidivism rates and protect future generations from the continuing cycle of incarceration. They do so with the core values of love, integrity, empathy, social justice, resilience, and of course, service. The Second Chance Center is a catalyst for lasting social change in our community by not only serving formerly incarcerated individuals, but by working to change the landscape around those for success. That means they've built programs that surround clients with positive mentors and programs to help reshape lives. It means working for criminal justice reform to change laws that have a negative impact on those still in the criminal justice system and those still recovering from it. It has also meant building a literal community for recovery to take place. In 2020, the Second Chance Center opened Providence at the Heights, or PATH, which aims to serve a whole host of marginalized communities. The Second Chance Center and their leader, Brother Hassan Latif, has been recognized for their work in community in just the 8 short years they have existed. The Interfaith Alliance of Colorado is honored to become a part of this community of recognition this morning by awarding the Second Chance Center with the 2020 Force for Good Award. So it is my great honor to congratulate the Second Chance Center and my Muslim brother and friend, Hassan Latif, with the 2020 Force for Good Award.
Yes, good morning. I'm Hassan Abdul-Latif, and I'm Executive Director of Second Chance Center. And we're just extremely pleased and grateful for the acknowledgement of the Forces for Good Award. Oh my goodness. When I stepped out of the prison almost 15 years ago, I wanted to do some kind of thing with my life that would mean something to someone besides just myself. But actually being a part of Force for Good. I didn't envision it unfolding like this. So I really appreciate everyone who supported Second Chance Center over the course of these last 8.5 years. We started out very modestly as a mobile unit in my car 8.5 years ago. And today we're a staff of 26, continuing to try to support those returning citizens transition successfully. And we couldn't do that without the supportive community. We also have been blessed over the course of the last couple of years to be involved in addressing the need for housing, affordable and supportive housing in Colorado. And we're able to bring a 50-unit supportive housing project, Providence at the Heights, online this February. And so we're very pleased about that and thankful for all of those who supported us in this effort. And I'd like to encourage anyone currently who is in a position to actually make land available or work with a nonprofit or some other group to bring online additional affordable housing. There's a tremendous need, and we hope that the kind of process that we've gone through can be a template for some, and we'd love to be a support to anyone trying to do this kind of work in the future. So once again, thank you, Forces for Good Award. I'm telling you, it doesn't get old. We really do appreciate that. Just the sound of it does my heart good. So thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you to the Second Chance Center for all you're doing to help formerly incarcerated folks reestablish themselves in our communities. Your work and your people are certainly a force for good in our state. You inspire me by the work that you are doing and the leadership that you provide. To introduce our next awardee, I'm going to hand things over to our lobbyist, Emma Hudson. This is the first time that our organization has had lobby representation at the Capitol, and it's been a huge gift to be able to assure that our legislative agenda is supported with passion and the collaborative bridge building that we are known for at the Capitol. Emma, take it away.
Hello, my name is Emma Hudson, and I have the privilege of serving as lobbyist for Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. In that capacity, I have the opportunity to work on Interfaith's behalf with our elected officials to pass meaningful and positive change that advances the health and equity of our state's residents. This past session, I had the good fortune to work closely with our next awardee, State Senator Julie Gonzalez, on a number of pieces of legislation that were vital to Interfaith's mission. Chief among them was the repeal of Colorado's death penalty, which Senator Gonzalez sponsored in the state Senate. Not only did she shepherd her bill through the sometimes tumultuous waters of politics and personality, she did so with grace, humility, and diplomacy. But she was not done there. Senator Gonzalez's efforts to create the Financial Empowerment Office, to house mentors in youthful offender facilities, to prohibit landlords from inquiring about their tenants' citizenship status, and to ensure increased rates of school entry immunization defied all odds. Beyond her legislative accomplishments, Senator Gonzalez is a genuine delight to work with. She makes herself available to constituents and the general public in order to educate and advocate for progressive social change. She truly embodies what it means to be a force for good in this state and our world. It is my pleasure to present this year's Force for Good Award to State Senator Julie Gonzalez.
Hey y'all, Julie Gonzalez here. I just want to say thank you so much for this incredible recognition. You know, I don't believe that it's ever just one person who makes change happen in our communities. It is truly when we work together, when we listen to each other and the different ways that policies impact each of us and each of us in our communities. When we come together, that's when we're unstoppable. I've had the honor and privilege to work alongside Interfaith Colorado on so many issues, and to see the ways in which y'all bring together the most directly impacted on so many issues of importance as we're fighting for economic justice, for racial equity, for inclusion. That's the way in which we're going to make positive change happen. And thank y'all for every single thing that y'all are doing in each and every one of your communities outside of the Capitol. And then when y'all are able to bring forward those values to the Capitol. And that's how we're able to be so effective in working together. Y'all, there's so much work to do. But to work together again on the values of economic justice, of racial equity, and so many more other values that we all share. I have no doubt that we will continue to do great work together because when we do come together, y'all, we're unstoppable. Thanks again for this recognition, and adelante.
Senator Gonzalez, you are truly an inspiration to all of us. I echo Emma's words of appreciation and gratitude for not only your effectiveness at the Capitol, but also the way you do the work. We need leaders who are both bridge builders and fierce defenders of those who are most marginalized in our community. Next, I move to our final award this morning, which goes to a church in our community who has quietly and humbly gone about the work of justice, not only outwardly, but inwardly. They have wrestled internally with what it means to be a force for good in our community. And I'm happy to pass it over to Kathleen to introduce them to you.
My name is Kathleen Van Voris, and I have the pleasure to serve as the Congregation Land Campaign Manager here at the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. Before I introduce our next awardees, I'd like to tell you a little about the Congregation Land Campaign, or CLC, because our awardee has been an integral part in this program. The CLC seeks to transform underutilized congregational land for affordable housing. So far, we have worked with over 15 congregations to bring about new affordable housing units, and are currently in conversations with 6 others. Denver Community Church has been working with the CLC program for the last year and a half, discussing the need for affordable housing in Denver, Colorado. The process of affordable housing can be difficult, and DCC has approached every conversation with grace, humility, and perseverance. Guided by a mission to create positive, systemic impact on those they serve, DCC continues to be a voice for those struggling to find affordable housing in Denver. DCC's work in our community goes far beyond advocating for affordable housing. When the global pandemic hit Colorado, DCC became an early partner in the effort to provide safe outdoor space for those experiencing homelessness. They actively support a variety of organizations and the community through their gifts and their time. And they have been critical to the facilitation of conversations aimed at bridging the divides we face in our society today. The past year, along with the Interfaith Alliance, DCC hosted a series of sessions that equipped individuals with some of the tools they need to have difficult conversations in their own lives. The Together in this series was a successful attempt to bring about real change to the polarized world we find ourselves in today. For these and so many other reasons, we award Denver Community Church with our Force for Good Award. Congratulations, DCC. We have been lucky to partner with you in the past, look forward to partnership in the future, and we have faith that you will continue to make positive social impacts on this community.
Hello, friends. My name is Michael Hidalgo. I am the lead pastor of Denver Community Church, and I'm humbled to receive the Force for Good Award on behalf of all those who call DCC home. I want to thank the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado for this award, but more so, I want to thank the Interfaith Alliance for leading the way in being a force for good here in Denver, around the state of Colorado and beyond. Your tireless efforts, your commitment to justice, and your faithful work for the common good is inspiring. You have been an example to us, so we say thank you. Now, it goes without saying, I'm only one of those who is a part of this congregation, and so I want to recognize the hard work and selfless leadership of several others. First and foremost are Dave Newhousel, Brooklyn Doherty, and Joel Carlman. As a team, they serve and support and resource our congregation to work for justice here in Denver and around the world. They have taught us so much. They have shaped our posture and informed our efforts. Without them, we would, as a local faith community, be less than who we are. I also want to acknowledge our partners throughout the city and around the world who equip us, who invite us into the work they are doing. They have been for us mentors, our teachers, and for them, we are endlessly grateful. And while I cannot name every person who is a part of Denver Community Church, I do want to thank all of those who give from their hearts, of their time and their talents and their resources. It is their generosity that enables us as a church to give and to serve, to lead, to work, and do all of this together, leading toward a more whole, healed, and just world. We know that this award is not for any one person and really not any one organization. And we know this because we are who we are here at Denver Community Church because of so many people and organizations, including those of you at the Interfaith Alliance. So once again, thank you for this award, and even more, thank you for your continued partnership and your friendship. We look forward to our continued work together in the seasons ahead. Grace and peace to all of you.
Congratulations to the Second Chance Center, to Senator Julie Gonzalez, and to Denver Community Church on your awards. We are so appreciative of the work that you are doing in our world and our community to make our spaces a better place. We want to thank you for inspiring others to do the same, because after all, that's what these awards are all about. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for making today's event possible. Even though we didn't have the typical costs associated with putting on our event, these sponsors helped defray the cost for creating this beautiful virtual space for us to gather this morning. A special thanks goes out to the Mountain Sky Conference of the United Methodist Church, our presenting sponsor today, and to Soul Sisters, First Baptist Church of Denver, and Shopworks Architecture for being award presenting sponsors. Sponsors, we couldn't do this without you. Now I want to pass it over to Arash Jahanian, the Secretary of the Board of Directors of the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado, for a special message and an ask of you.
On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado, I want to say thank you for joining us for today's Virtual Force for Good Awards. We congratulate each of the awardees, and we hope that they inspire each and every one of us to be forces for good in our own backyards. Before we close our time today, I'd like to ask you to consider making a donation to the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. Each year at the Force for Good Awards, we make this ask and the proceeds represent a significant portion of our income for the year. The Interfaith Alliance of Colorado depends on the kindness and generosity of our community to sustain the good work that our staff and volunteers are doing. Your support is vital to the work of promoting justice, religious liberty, and interfaith understanding that lies at the core of all that we do. Will you take a moment now to scroll down this page and fill out the donation form that you'll find there? The form is very easy to fill out, and we're going to pause in a moment to let you do that. When you submit your donation, you will stay on this page and will not be redirected. Remember, your donation will be used to ensure that the good work of the Interfaith Alliance continues into the future. We appreciate your generosity and commitment to the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado. Truly, each and every one of you is a force for good in our world. Thank you for taking the time to give today. We are so thankful for your generosity. Now let me send it back to Amanda, who will close out our program this morning.
Thanks, Arash. And again, thank you for taking part in our virtual Force for Good Awards this morning. We hope that next year we can be back together in person as we celebrate those who are a force for good in our own neighborhoods, community, and state. One final congratulations goes to our award recipients, the Second Chance Center, Senator Julie Gonzalez, and the Denver Community Church. Take care, be safe, and remember, we're all in this together.